Welcome back. This is a cry for help. My name is Chelsea, 28 female, and I really need your advice. My husband Mark and I are facing massive fallout, and I don't know what to do. We've been married for a year now, and we had been together for 4 years before getting married. And things have been going well. I mean, they were great and we were perfect, but I'm just a little selfish. And I did something I can't take back. That all changed a month ago when my husband and I went on a double date with Mark's coworker Chad, 32, and his wife Ellie, 32. Mark and Chad had worked together for 3 years. He even invited him to our wedding, and he invited us to his. We got married about 7 or 8 months apart, and his wife is now pregnant with their first child. We've had multiple office dinners together, but we haven't been as close as you'd call friends with Chad and Ellie. We thought it was a great idea to make friends as a couple, since we've been doing pretty much everything alone. When we went on a double date, I was taken aback and felt embarrassed. It felt like Mark and I weren't supposed to be at the same table as them. I was amazed at how well he treated his wife and started thinking about my marriage to Mark and whether it was going well or not. We had a great night. But the next day, I purposefully texted Chad and asked him if we could go out drinking alone that night. Surprisingly, he agreed right away and asked to go after work. So I called Mark and said I was going out for drinks with friends after my shift ended at 6. I lied about it, even though I didn't know the outcome of the night yet. We went out and started the night with a meal and drinks, and he immediately started flirting shamelessly. And I loved every bit of it. He was being touchy, and I didn't mind. It was definitely a date, and I loved being at Ellie's place even for just one night. Next thing I know, I woke up naked and alone in a fancy hotel room to 28 missed calls from Mark and 5 messages. And a long paragraph message from Ellie, stating that she's aware that her significant other is cheating. Not only that, but she's completely and bluntly aware that I'm not the only one and that she's fine with it. But if I come near Chad again, she would tell my husband. I tried to call Chad first to ask about where I was or what happened with Ellie, but he didn't answer me. It went straight to voicemail. I returned Mark's call and tried to reassure him that I was spending the night at my best friend Shay's. He then told me that he knew that I was lying because he called all my friends, and they said they hadn't seen me in weeks. And he contacted Shay first, and she told him she hadn't seen me in weeks either. He then asked me to send my location. He came to pick me up and asked reception to check me out. They asked if he was Mr. Chad, and then it dawned on him. He immediately took me out of the hotel, and we drove home in complete silence. He asked me to move the next day and find a new place. He hasn't been home since then, and now a month later, I haven't tried to find a new place thinking we'll figure it out. But I'm really scared. I don't want to be without him. I don't want to be a divorced woman after a year of marriage. I'm not going to say I'm not wrong, but I thought marriage was all about sharing what's bad and what's good together. I know cheating's a different kind of bad. It's really bad. And I did it for absolutely no reason. Mark was the best husband anyone could ask for, and I took that for granted and did the undoable. I'm so ashamed and hurt that I let myself go like that. I'm so angry that I let lust take over me and blinded me with a temporary solution to my non-existent problem. What should I do? I don't know where he is, and I went through our bank purchases together, and he hasn't been to motels or anything. I tried calling my mother-in-law, but she didn't answer. I'm losing my mind. What should I do? Edit. He hasn't returned my calls or texts. He hasn't come back home, and I'm worried sick. I knew I shouldn't have followed that asshole's moves. I knew I shouldn't have let him seduce me. I don't know what to do. Update. Hey, it's me again. It's been a little over 6 months, and I feel like I'm going crazy. The last time I saw Mark was 7 months ago when he came to the house with his mother, divorce papers in hand. His mother spoke and asked me to sign the papers, pack up, and go back to my parents or find a hotel to stay in until I find a new place. He then told me that I had to attend a hearing in exactly 2 weeks. Fast forward 6 months later. Today, I signed the divorce papers after court. Mark didn't make a single eye contact with me. I can't let him go like this. Is there anything I can do to get him to take me back? I can give him space and maybe try to contact him in a few months when things cool down. I can't concentrate at work, and I can't live my life normally without him. I found a new place just a few blocks from my old place with Mark. I heard he moved back in 2 weeks ago. I miss him. I took him for granted just to compare our relationship with another. And get this, Chad doesn't even love Ellie, and he's with her because she's rich and she spends her money on him. And he only uses her for a luxurious life. And I lost my love for someone who pretended to be the perfect husband, but recklessly cheated on his wife with several women. I'm sorry, Chelsea, but I can't condone your actions. You cheated on your loving husband, Mark, and the consequences are something you have to face. It's heartbreaking to hear that you took him for granted and let lust lead you astray. Marriage is built on trust, love, and commitment, and you betrayed all of that. Mark deserves better than someone who betrays his trust and hurts him like this. You need to respect his decision, give him the space he needs, and let him move on with his life. Learn from your mistakes and use this experience to grow as a person. Cheating is never a solution to any problem in a relationship, and it's time to take responsibility for your actions. Story 2. Hey fellow Redditors, I'm in a bit of a pickle and could really use some advice here. So let me give you some context. I've 34 female, been married to my husband 35 for 3 years now, and we've been together since college, so about 10 years in total. We've had a bit of a rough patch since we got engaged, and during that time, we decided to take a break to figure things out. The one condition we laid out to each other was that we would not see other people. Here's where it went downhill. During that 3-month break, I ended up dating and sleeping with a good friend who's also friends with my husband. I know, it sounds terrible. At that time, I was genuinely over our relationship, and I made some poor choices. Then, after the 3-month break, we made up and got back together. I never disclosed my short fling to my husband because, in my mind, it was irrelevant. And there was no emotions involved either. Fast forward to today, and I recently had a nightmare about this situation, which led me to ask my husband if he ever slept with someone else during our break. Turns out he didn't, but he asked me the same question, and I had to come clean about what happened with our mutual friend. I'll never forget the look of betrayal on his face. Now, I'm stuck in a whirlwind of emotions. I feel guilty, betrayed, and confused. I'm not sure if what I did counts as cheating or not, and I don't know how to deal with this. My husband and I have always had some trust issues, and I fear this might be the end of our relationship. I'm reaching out to you, Reddit, because I need some objective advice. How should I handle this situation? Can our relationship survive this? I want to make amends, but I'm not sure where to start. Please help me navigate this mess. Edit. The affair lasted a bit over 3 months, but as soon as my husband and I made it official again, I called things off with him. Edit 2. To those making assumptions that my husband and I went on a break because I was already seeing the friend couldn't be further from the truth. It wasn't I who proposed the break, and we had a few issues that we were at a standstill about. I figured we needed to figure them out before we took our relationship to the next level. I already knew the friend, and we were talking, but we never did anything physical until after I went on a break with my husband. The friend was immaterial in the cause of the break. Comments. Oh, so you were talking with the friend before the break? Basically, you were in an emotional affair. You were in a committed long-term relationship, essentially engaged to your now husband, and yet you chose to date and sleep with a mutual friend. It's essential to recognize the gravity of this situation and how deeply it has hurt your husband. The emotional toll and turmoil this has caused him can't be understated. It's absolutely crucial to come to terms with your mistake and take full responsibility for your actions. What transpired during that break has undoubtedly left your husband feeling betrayed, and his emotional turmoil is entirely understandable. If you genuinely want to salvage your relationship, it's going to require some tough conversations, vulnerability, and possibly professional intervention. Rebuilding trust is a long and arduous process, but it can be achieved if both of you are genuinely committed to working through this. Best of luck.